Ariana Grande in 2026 is vastly different from Ariana Grande in 2021 and nowhere near Ariana Grande in 2019. And some people are okay with it, but a lot of people are not. If you've been with me for a while, obviously this is not my normal background, nor this is my normal camera. I'm currently in Toronto and I'm gonna be bouncing back and forth between Toronto and New York pretty much for the rest of the summer. So bear with me because I'm gonna have various backgrounds, locations that might look a little bit odd, but the show must go on. Ariana has started her Eternal Sunshine tour this past month, and I've been seeing a lot of discourse online about how people perceive Ariana as a pop star today, not just in terms of her music, but also how she carries herself and even the state of her physical body. Normally, I don't do super serious or thought-provoking videos because that's just not really my style, but I think this is an important one to do, and it also just hits home for me because I've been listening to Ariana since I was 14 years old, and I think it's important to talk about how much she's changed over the last 10 years and how she's maneuvered throughout the industry and how her relationship with her fans and the general public has changed drastically, which is why we're even talking about this right now. We met Ariana as a bubbly 20-year-old girl with a big personality and an even bigger voice, and her music reflected that. She made these big, grandiose pop songs that were either meant to make you dance or be in awe of her God-given talent through her voice, and that was fine because we didn't expect anything else from her. But she started growing up and experiencing things like relationships, deaths from those closest to her, and traumatic events that completely shifted her from the girl that we knew to the woman now that's a bit distant and jaded but still feels optimistic. She shared those experiences and changes through albums like Sweetener, Thank You Next, and Positions, which is honestly the holy trinity of her discography. It truly is some of her best work. And through those albums, she gained popularity and fame in a way that most artists don't come close to experiencing, not just from chart success, but fans were also enamored by her. Say what you want, but Ariana shifted culture. There were Ariana Grande impersonators. Her style was dissected and copied by many. Her ponytail was a statement to her branding, and with all that, fans got used to a version of her as this larger-than-life, sexy, and confident woman that felt so big, but also felt human because she was so open about the hurt and trauma she went through within her music, and we all felt seen by her in a sense. This kind of pop star is so entertaining to the general public, but with the way the internet and stan culture has grown and evolved over the years, it turned from love and adoration to somewhat of an obsession and feeling like we're owed something from her. Ariana's relationship with her fans has changed a lot over the years, which I'll talk more about later, but there was once a time when she was chronically online, especially on Twitter. She would be talking with us and sometimes arguing with us, and it was fun. But with how extreme people and fans get with parasocial relationships, it led to her becoming more reserved and private with the public, which I don't blame her because y'all are kind of annoying. It got to a point where people were constantly saying negative things about her body and even her albums. I didn't forget the treatment y'all gave to Sweetener and Positions when they first dropped because I know how y'all like to rewrite history. Even her behavior, her tone of voice, and mannerisms during the Wicked promo were dissected for 40 days and 40 nights on Twitter, TikTok, pretty much every single social media platform. If you want to get into even more detail about that specific time period of Ariana, definitely go check out my Wicked video. I go into way more detail about that there. And all of this leads to what's currently going on right now. As I said, Ariana is about to release her 8th studio album, Petal, which has one single out so far, Hate That I Made You Love Me. And the discourse that came with it, you would think this was the worst song on the planet. People's reactions to the song were very mixed, with some saying they liked the lo-fi feel and how toned down it was and that it showed growth and maturity as an artist for her. But there was also a lot of people saying that they hated it and this wasn't the Ariana Grande that they know and love. And respectfully, if she put out a song like Thank You Next, y'all would complain that there's no growth, but if she didn't, y'all would complain that she needs to go back to her roots. So pick a struggle. This all relates to what the song is about, which you could interpret it as a song about a past lover and her reflections on the relationship, but most take it as her current outlook on her relationship with her fans and how they treat her like this puppet that should do whatever they want rather than her being her own person that changes and evolves. Me personally, when I first heard it, I thought it was okay. It wasn't really my cup of tea, but as more time has gone on and I've listened to it 1,000 times since then, it's grown on me a lot, and I actually really like it. Is it one of her strongest singles that punches you in the face the first time you listen to it? No, but it's also a beautifully haunting song. But the outcry of negative energy towards the song and wanting the old Ariana to come back literally proves the song's point of just how far gone the internet and stan culture is when it comes to consuming music, which is a video for another day. A couple of weeks ago, Ariana started her Eternal Sunshine tour, and while she sounds amazing and the production is there, people can't help but notice that she looks incredibly thin. So much so that many people think that she might have an ED. I feel like this is a very touchy subject because there are those that are like, we shouldn't talk about women's bodies, we don't know what she's going through, which is true. And even though the internet has this weird habit of bandwagoning when there's hate going on to somebody and just adding fuel to the fire because everyone likes to feel like they're a part of something, I don't blame people for being concerned for her well-being because it is very apparent that she has lost a lot of weight and she looks different and she's moving and dancing different, and it is concerning. And I don't think we should shame people for talking about this, especially when it is coming from a good place, because we've seen what has happened to celebrities in the past that have dealt with an ED and no one does anything about it until it's too late. I'm not going to speculate about whether she could have an ED or not, or if she's purposely trying to look skinny for reasons or other, because that's just not my place to do that. But this also adds to the conversation of this being a completely different version of Ariana that's frail and dainty. And on the surface, it has some people like, what happened to the sexy Ariana who was feeling herself, shaking ass, and made bad bitch music? But there's also a deeper feeling for a lot of people of what happened to her. Is she okay? Will she ever go back to her old self? And the answer is no. The Ariana from Dangerous Woman, Thank You Next, and Positions was a completely different phase of her life, with her being in her 20s, growing into a woman, and experiencing dark things that forever changed her. And the Ariana we have now is in her 30s, seems lighter, brighter, and healed, at least from what we see. And I think it gets to a point where if you don't resonate with this version of her, that's okay. Just bow out gracefully and move on with your life. But the whole wishing she would go back to her old self thing is incredibly stupid and selfish, because how can we ask someone to go back to a version of themselves that makes us feel more comfortable? I don't know, sometimes I feel for her because it's damned if you do and damned if you don't. And listen, I'm not gonna sit here and act like she's a saint, because she's done very questionable things that deserved every single lashing she got. But the internet, music fans, or even just casual listeners need to let her and artists like her be their own person without causing a huge scene about it and making campaigns for them to be who we want them to be, because it's weird. But we should also be allowed to have conversations of constructive criticisms of artists, especially when it comes to their craft or even their well-being, without someone being attacked for it online. Anyways, that's all I have to say about the situation. Let me know what y'all think about Ariana and the current conversations about her, and let's be calm when we discuss in the comments. I want to thank you all so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it, and I will see you all next time. Bye.